Everyone, this is Jerry from Fight Commentary Breakdowns, Fight Commentary Chats, and we have Gene Ching back because Kung Fu Tai Chi Magazine's back. We mentioned that last time we talked, but this time it's already been out. And so we'll talk about this. We'll talk about martial arts in general. So anyways, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And let's talk about the reception for this. Obviously, I'm a big fan of it. How the general public, are they pretty excited that you coming back with this magazine?
Yeah, it's been great. The support has been really great.
Mhm.
People have made some really positive comments. We're nearly sold out of our printing. Actually, I'm going to the office next week, and we'll see where we're at. But that's very gratifying.
That's awesome. For everyone that hasn't picked this up yet, basically this issue is pretty special. They go over 100 Kung Fu styles. There's other things in this too, but the main attraction is they go over 100 Kung Fu styles. So let's talk about that. What made you decide, all right, let's go back to just talking about the Kung Fu styles again?
Well, to be honest, this issue was sort of a proof of concept. So what we did is the original 100 Kung Fu styles article we did back in the year 2000, the very first issue of the year 2000. And so we went back to that article and we updated it with now 25 years of more material. And that original article was mostly black and white because back then we were printing half black and white. It was a lot has happened in 25 years. So a lot of the research got updated. Some stuff got added. Some things got changed around. And in a way, because there was a lot of logistical issues in trying to come back. And so it was simpler just to redo this piece as an intro. The next issue will be the issue that died of COVID. We were in mid-production when the Shelter in Place came out. And, bless those authors that stuck with me through the whole time. They were, we've been in conversation for, good Lord, 5 years now, 6 years now. And about finally this issue's coming out. And,
wow.
That's
very exciting to look forward to for the next issue. And that will be the spring issue, right?
That will be the spring issue.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a little bit late because it was originally designated to drop on Lunar New Year, which has already passed.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, we had some production issues, and that put us back nearly 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
This whole coming back is a learning process for so many reasons. I mean, we're actually under a new management.
Mm-hmm.
We were under TC Media International, TC for Tire Claw. Now we're under KF Magazine, which is an independent company, KF Magazine Incorporated, but working closely with Tire Claw, of course. Mm-hmm. But it's some shifts. Also working with a much, half of my permanent crew was let go during the pandemic. So that changed. That was a major shift. And then we had this, which we talked a little bit about last time. We had this catastrophic crash of our website over last year, but that's all back now. It's already restored thanks to Kung Fu Magazine Incorporated. New format, new way of doing things. We're working off a subscription model, so we're still putting out free content every week, sweepstakes and articles and such. But we've put all of our back issues behind a paywall, as well as all of our instructional videos. So for $5 a month, you can get access to all that. We're still uploading that because it's a lot of data. And then they also get the electronic version of the new issue. The pre-issues we were originally going to do on print on demand, but that just right now we're still filling that out. Logistically, it wasn't working out as we had envisioned, and so we did a limited printing. And like I said, we're near sold out, so I don't know if we'll print more. It's a brave new, bold, brave new world here that we're exploring.
Yeah, exactly. Like we talked about a little last time, and what you also mentioned in the magazine is that, unfortunately, the whole kiosk model of things, right? It's not there anymore. So, or it's limited. It's still in train stations, maybe, and sometimes in certain airports, but that's about it. And then maybe like one or two big cities, you might have still some kiosks. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely not as big as before.
yeah, newsstands really died out, especially for a niche magazine like us. All the newsstands that you see, like at the groceries, and bookstores, you can find bookstores still. They're pretty small, and they don't really allow for niche magazines like us. So that all went down during the pandemic, which
Yeah.
was which is unfortunate. And a lot of other magazines, I wouldn't say a lot, but other magazines have moved to this kind of format where they're doing direct distribution. The whole newsstand thing. I mean, it was a very bizarre market, newsstand publishing. So, I mean, you mentioned, for example, airports. So each outlet was different. So airports was its own distribution circuit. And it's a very limited distribution circuit and very expensive. You basically have to pay to be there. So
Mm.
all you see in an airport store are paying a ton of money to be there and losing money because there's no way they'll make it back how much they're spending. It's more of an advertising play.
Yeah, exactly. Get the eyes, get the people to think about it.
And the one market that I was trying to penetrate for most of my career as a publisher with Kung was the university market because that was a really exclusive magazine market. Basically it was limited. You had to wait for another magazine to die, and then a slot would open. Of course, it's all gone now because university students who reads magazines anymore. It's all online, right?
Yeah.
It was just to give you an idea of how publishing has changed in the last quarter century.
Yeah. I wonder, since I'm still in touch with the Kelly Raiders house at my alma mater,
Hmm.
they maybe I could connect you with Al at Kelly Raiders house and be like, hey, do you want to carry Gene's magazine? Unfortunately, at the Kelly Raider house, it's probably going to be like you'll have to like just send it to them for free or whatever. It's probably not going to be like students have to pay for it, but maybe it could be like try it once, see if students warm up to it or something like that. Just totally throwing an idea out there.
I'm not sure that we'll go that direction, to be honest with you. I appreciate the offer. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Exactly. So I forgot what the word you used, but you guys are under a different umbrella now.
the graphics department at Tire Claw predominantly focused on, well, not only showcasing Tire Claw products, of course, but also publishing things for various martial arts studios. So, for example, graphics on T-shirts, right? Martial arts masters would give us these images for their new logo that they drew on a napkin or something, and we have to make that into something that was replicatable on T-shirts and embroidery, all sorts of things. So it was a totally different level of graphics, very specialized. Also, for tournaments and such, they needed um, pamphlets, programs. There's actually quite a bit of printing that can be done within the martial arts community. And remember, Tire Claw is basically a wholesaler. It's B2B. So their whole focus is to supply schools and stores all across the nation. And the magazine kind of fell out of that in sort of an obtuse way, and went through many permutations. I mean, there was a period when we were actually publishing 3 magazines. There was Kung Fu, there was Dojo, which was Japanese based, and Dojang, which was Korean based. And each one would drop once a quarter, so it would be monthly. So you had 4 issues. That was kind of before my time. By the time I got there, there was World of Martial Arts, which was sort of the Dojo and Dojang combined. It was like the everything that wasn't Chinese style. But it turned out, the Chinese style stuff was the most popular, and it was what we knew the most about. And so that's what we stayed focused on that. And eventually that became the only publication that TC Media did. Now, of course, with the pandemic and everything, the whole shipping system got confused, and it's still pretty messed up for small companies. So Tire Claw is addressing its own issues. A lot of manufacturers of martial arts equipment stopped manufacturing. So it's kind of a whole new ball game. And most of the martial arts gear that we see, including Japanese martial arts gear, is manufactured in China, or was manufactured in China. And of course, China didn't have any PPE when when it all collapsed out. So a lot of those warehouses, a lot of those manufacturing companies went under. So there's still a lot of issues with supply, and I know that anybody who's looking at getting martial arts gear is having issues. I mean, you can look at any of the distributors, and you'll see a lot of items are sold out or aren't available right now. And so Tire Claw is focused on keeping its clientele there. I mean, they have, I think, 23,000 schools and stores they supply, and so that is a major focus. And bringing back the magazine was not something that was a high priority. We still kept the website going. We kept the website going all the way through. But the print magazine was kind of, we had said goodbye to that. And, it's just so rare and unusual to get a second chance. The new company, KF Magazine, it gave us a pitch on bringing it all back and rebuilding the site and structuring this whole new business model. So it's, in many ways, it's a big experiment to see if it works. I mean, clearly the pandemic changed a lot of how everybody does business, and this new permutation is an attempt to adapt to that. I mean, for me personally, I mean, just to have this in my hand, I'd forgotten how good it was to feel a magazine, in my hand. I mean, I love internet publishing. It's cheaper. I don't have to worry about paper and distribution and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's very, very gratifying. And it's nice also to hear a lot of our longtime supporters and subscribers like, oh, it's so good to have the magazine back. I really like that, print magazine above, internet publishing. So, and I get that. I respect that. It's a lot of fun to work in that format, to try and compose a whole magazine as opposed to, these weekly missives that we do online. I mean, I still enjoy that too, right? That allows us to be a lot more current because production time took like 3 months, which we were only expecting a month in terms of from when we submitted to the printers.
First of all, I totally agree with you that having a magazine in your hand feels so good. So how does planning the layout, how does it happen? Like, you go, okay, well, what's in the first page? What's in the second page? What pages are ads? Do you guys sort of go through that with the team? Like, I've always been curious how this works.
So the pagination is all me, actually. I get some input from my graphic artist, our remaining graphic artist. We have a certain structure which we've arrived at after years of publishing, and this new magazine, this new issue echoes that structure, but we've done some changes, of course. So there's sort of a frame that everything goes in. And then in terms of the actual content, I mean, I have my own area of research, so there'll almost always be an article that I've been chipping on. And right now, I'm kind of obsessed with sword technique, and I'm doing this whole series in print and online, which I call Blade Sharp. Which actually there's one edition in this issue, in this upcoming issue. And another one on the way for the third issue, which is actually now in production. The second issue is at print right now. Then we rely very heavily on our contributors. We have 2 staff reporters. Patrick Lugo, who was previously our senior graphic designer, still writes for us predominantly movie reviews and such. He has an article that we just dropped today, reviewing. He was behind Tiger's Tail, which was a comic we ran for many, many years. And then Emilio Alpanzquio, who's been writing for us for years. And then we have the rest of everybody else is freelance contributors. So any given issue every quarter now, people are constantly sending me things, and I'm looking to see what might fit. I've always tried to get a broad scope in terms of content. So some articles, I always say I want a magazine that has an article that speaks to the grandmaster and an article that speaks to Bubba, who doesn't know nothing about Kung Fu, right? And then everything in between. And Kung Fu giving Chinese martial arts being so diverse has a lot of territory. So, and sometimes I get little thematic things. I mean, I got to a point we used to do Shaolin specials because we get so many articles on Shaolin. And we did other specials like Wing Chun and Wu Dongshan and other, Tai Chi special. And that was just because we would, it was happening somewhat organically in that we just had a lot of submissions on that theme. And then we'd fill it out with some other submissions or some other contributions from me or other staff writers. Yeah, it's the pagination. Actually, I'm chipping on the pagination right now for the third issue. And it's a lot of fun for me personally to try and get that flow, and sort of a grand composition to it. And each one's different because it's like, I'm dealt a certain amount of cards depending on what my freelancers send me, and it's making them mesh, try not to put the MMA based article next to the internal Qigong article, but give some sort of progression, and then the ads, of course. Fortunately, Tire Claw sells everything because they supply all different styles. So it's putting those in places that are appropriate. If there's an article on 3 sectionals, then 3 sectional staff ad will be right in the middle of it, right? This particular issue, the one that you have, our first issue, was actually pretty scant on ads because we didn't approach anybody for advertising. Like I said, it was more of a proof of concept. Make sure that we could actually make it work. And here we are,
Yeah.
Advertise, give me a holler.
Yeah. Oh, wait, to follow up on this. Are there any advertising categories you don't accept, or is it basically all accepted? They can pitch you.
So previously, we didn't accept any advertisers that were competitors with Tire Claw. The bulk of the ads that you see in there are Tire Claw ads, or actually Martial Arts Mart, which is a subdivision of Tire Claw that is retail. That still holds true with these first few issues, but as KF Magazine Incorporate gets more independent, that might shift. It's kind of awkward because, supplying, because Tire Claw is a supplier for all different styles of we sell everything: nunchucks, ninja gear, everything, MMA gear, Taekwondo gear, karate gear. And so a lot of our advertisers have always been, a lot of our potential advertisers have always been cut out. Right. So, but what funded it predominantly was advertising for Martial Arts Mart and Tire Claw, and that was very viable, right? That's a very good question you asked. I mean, there's a lot of things in this new frontier.
Yeah. So I guess that's a to be continued. Yeah. To be continued. I do appreciate, so for anyone that hasn't read this, I want to encourage everyone to go on the website or find a copy of this. But I do appreciate the fact that you talked about how the unfortunate disgraced abbot, right? You met that abbot from the Shaolin Temple. I was reading that article. It's like, wow, Jane's met him. That's so cool. So
it's kind of crazy because I feel like I've seen the whole life cycle of an abbot, because when I first time I went to Shaolin Temple was 1995, and Yongxin doesn't become abbot until 99, but I met him in 95, and at that point he was residing in the room next to the abbot's chamber, and a lot of people were like, this guy's the one who's making the biggest play to be the next abbot. And so that was one of the reasons I met him. I was actually how shall I say it? I was actually in another camp when it came to abbots. There's politics everywhere, and there's politics within Shaolin Temple. And so, I watched him become abbot watched his whole progression. It's been fascinating, really. And then his from the very beginning, he was controversial.
Uh,
Um, and one of his first acts was to clean up Shaolin, right? Because Shaolin at that time was just crazy. I mean, I love that actually personally because it was this crazy uncontrolled tourist zone, and some of the tourist traps were so cheesy and so weird. Like my favorite was there was this house of horrors literally, and it was like this terracotta Buddha that you would go in, and it had like these little displays of like Buddhist hell. And
oh,
it was just privately, this guy just built this thing. And if you like, because it was this giant Buddha. I mean, it was like a building sized Buddha, Amilofo, the happy fat Buddha, right? And if you took a picture of it, the guy would come out and like, yo, you owe me money for taking pictures. This is a private dude, right? They had outside of Thailand, of where the pagoda forest is, they had one of Mao's planes. I guess that would be Air Force One and it was just a small plane, and it was like you pay a couple of yuan, and you be able to like go on this plane and look around.
wow.
And I did all that stuff, because I was just like, I gotta see everything. One of my favorite was up on where the second disciple, he has a temple up on one of the peaks, and there was this area near it that had this crazy echo. So what did the Chinese do? They put on this full automatic machine gun. I think it was a Russian made. I don't know. It was just crazy tripod mounted gun, and they lined up all these bullets, and you could pay money for bullets.
What?
And so like next to this Buddhist temple
Yeah,
was
shooting
this was a
stuff. Wow.
serious gun. This was like it was bigger than my room here, and I mean, here take my money, take my give me as many bullets and just
Wow.
just shoot off because the echo was insane, and it was like, I mean, it's totally inappropriate, right, for one of the most significant Buddhist temples. I mean, here's the founding place of Zen, right? Never mind the whole kung fu thing, right? Pivotal temple, and all this craziness was going around, and Yongqing cleaned all that up, which I had. I mean, at the time, I loved it because it was so weird, but ultimately, it's so much nicer now. It's so much more appropriate. He totally reforested it. I was back in 2024, and it's just beautiful now. I mean, it's surrounded by trees. All that craziness is gone. It's like a temple, this venerated, Buddhist temple should be. Um, so, and I mean, Yongshin was always good to me, but I'm press, so people treat me a little differently, right? Um, he made a lot of amazing advancements. The Shaolin Kung Fu games were incredible. The Duan system. He kind of brought back a lot of the Shaolin medicine, which is a tradition. People always say to Tan Yu Wu Yi, right? The Buddhism, the martial arts, and the Yi, the medicine, were the three traditions of Shaolin. He did a lot to restore it. Brought a lot of the traditional forms back because a lot of the monks were doing demonstrations at the beginning that it was more wushu based, more modern wushu based, and that element is there. But with the Shaolin games, they tried to restrict it more to traditional forms. There was still a lot of wushu in like the animal imitative forms and such, but you know. So he did a lot of great things. As for the whole embezzling money and him having affairs and such, I don't know. I never saw that, but I wouldn't have been privy to that. No matter what, right? Um, so I mean, I'm fascinated to see what will happen next. I mean, I've been getting some word of what's been going on with Xiaoling, but not a lot. You know, uh, it's open again, but they're not allowing foreigners in there to train. But you can train all around it, and generally, you didn't really train in the temple that wasn't you. There were opportunities to train at the temple, but that was always a special thing. And there were
Yeah.
certain Abbott eventually established that foreigners lived in the temple and trained. But usually you would train at the Wushu Guan, which is outside of Shaolin, the government run facility, or in one of the private schools. So, yeah, it really, I'm following Shaolin. I mean, I've been researching Shaolin since 1995, and it has been a journey. It has been an epic journey. Yongxin is another amazing chapter in that massive story of what's happening to modern Shaolin Temple. So I don't know. I mean, at this point, all these people were there's a lot of people freaking out about it, which I understand. There were a lot of people that were very loyal to the abbot, which I also understand. But then, for me, I feel like I've been through this already. When he first came in, there was a lot of people freaking out, and there were a lot of changes to Shaolin, and I always come back to that basic Buddhist principle that all things are impermanent, and I just hope that Shaolin can continue to move forward and continue to progress. I'm eager to hear anything. If anybody has any news out there, give me a holler.
The only thing I've seen recently is those robots that do martial arts that are on the Chinese New Year's festivals on TV.
Right,
They
right.
were doing some stuff at Shaolin. That's all I saw.
And originally I thought, wow, this is going to be AI. But then I saw some other videos of just martial art guys demonstrating and stuff. And you could see the robots in the background, like kind of collapsed and just sitting there being stored. It was like, wow, that's way too much attention to detail if this is all AI and fake. Then, of course, the whole Spring Festival where, we were just inundated with robots. And now there's so many Chinese robots. It's kind of crazy. That's a whole other aspect. I mean, China's doing some really crazy things right now between the robots, and then the other big thing is the foo cats, right? The micro drama AI generated cat videos, which are like everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my Instagram is just swarming with that stuff, But I mean, I indulge it. I watch it because I mean, who can resist that, right?
Yeah. I've been blocking all that stuff. So I took the opposite approach. I'm like, I only want to watch real stuff.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. It's getting harder and harder to tell.
Definitely very hard to distinguish. Sometimes I need to do a double take slash. I need to even go to the account and be like, oh, okay, this is an AI type of account.
Right. I was totally suckered in by with this musician. I was like, oh man, this woman is amazing. When's she gonna tour? And I look into it. It's like, oh, she's all AI, 100% AI. Oh my god. I mean, it used to be they had all these tells, but I mean, the one thing about AI, the neural network, it learns, and so it's getting with those tells, it's getting past it. So, see, man, see. I'm curious ultimately what kind of effect it'll have in martial arts, because it's really dramatically affected Tai Chi. There's a lot of AI Tai Chi programs that are pretty sketch. I mean, they're all
I've seen it advertised on YouTube even.
Right. Everybody's getting those, right? Have these crazy washboard abs from doing 8 weeks of Tai Chi. And it's like, of all the martial arts, Tai Chi is not going to give you abs. I mean, no disrespect, but I mean, of all the styles, that's probably the farthest one to give you washboard abs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the world is weird right now. It's weird.
Yeah. I think that is the great summary. The world is very weird right now. And I always tell people, it's okay to feel a little anxiety, but just focus on what you can control and keep trying to learn, keep trying to grow in those areas.
Yeah. I mean, the hashtag China Maxing thing has been fascinating. And I think that has also been a great bump in the interest in Tai Chi and martial arts. And, hopefully that will widen our base and we're practitioners. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
what else?
So we should talk about some of the 100 styles you featured. And
Oh,
were
sure.
there any styles that surprised you, Gene? Or were there any styles that you're like, wow, I'm glad we featured this one because not a lot of people know about them?
Oh, that's a very good question. Um, well, there were some really obscure ones because the first time we did it, uh, we needed to get to 100. And so there were a couple that were like, we're digging and digging. Oh, here's one. Let's throw this one in there. And it'd be some reference from the Wushu Baika, the encyclopedia, or some obscure thing that we had found. And yeah, so a lot of those, and then some of it also got kind of complicated, like with Tai Chi, for example, right? You had all the different lineages of Tai Chi. How deep do you want to go into that? Or you just want to say Tai Chi, or do you want to say Chen Tai Chi, Yang Tai Chi, Sun Tai Chi? And so the I think one of the most challenging things about doing Chinese martial arts research is it doesn't fit in boxes, neatly. It's like the Chinese box. You open a box and oh my God, there's another box, and you keep opening more and more boxes. So trying to give that overview was our mission, really. We did a sequel at the end of the year 2000. 2000 was the only year we were monthly, and we weren't able to sustain it. But the very end of the year, we did the 100 weapons article. So we're talking about redoing that one again. Maybe. I mean, if we did it again, I would like to try to get real photos of all the weapons, which is, we got about maybe a third of them. We have genuine photos, but we've been running the featured weapon where we've been showing antiques, and so I have access to a lot of collectors. I mean, this one back here behind me is an antique piece, so it could be done. I don't know. We'll see. That's further down the line. We'll see if we make it that far. But yeah, I mean, oh God, that's a good question. Were there any ones that, like you said, like what the heck is this?
I will illustrate a few. Like a
and
few of these Tai Chi styles I've never heard about. So like that's an example. Like I'm so glad you included all these Tai Chi styles. Like I never heard of Fu Shi, and I never heard of yeah, this one too. Like a specific dude. Like wow.
Oh yeah, that's actually big in the West Coast. They're here in America. Jianpaling Tai Chi group. I mean, sorry, the East Coast. The East Coast. East Coast. Yeah.
This one too. This one is probably one of my favorites. Bozichen. This one almost has like, imagine if you combine that with drunken boxing. That would be quite an eclectic style. Nobody would be able to hit that person.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really kind of tickles the imagination, right? I mean, the one thing that with Chinese martial arts, I mean, it's just so diverse and so cultural, so invested in culture, and that I feel, even though we've been working with this magazine now for a quarter century, I feel I'm still just scratching the surface. And every once in a while, one of those things I'll be looking at it like, oh, here's this whole new world. That's that Chinese box thing again. That Chinese box analogy. It's so deep and profound.
yeah. And I will give this article credit too. It gave me all these terms to look up on all the crazy niches of the Chinese social media world that I dig through. So, in fact, one of my recent videos, I found one of the styles trying to step into the ring. So I was like, okay, like this gave me a
Nice.
lot to research on.
Right.
So
I mean, one of the things that we've
what's a
always
preview
really
of some of the
pushed.
stuff?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Oh,
You go ahead.
one of
There
the things we
might be a little bit of a
tried to do
delay in
with
my
the magazine
internet. It's
is to
unfortunate.
include the
Yeah.
Chinese characters, and so that makes it. I know you're conversing Chinese, and that makes it a lot easier to do web searches and stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
that's affirming to hear that you like grabbed some of those ideas and started just chasing them down. So that's exactly what we want to see
Yeah.
happening.
And the more I go through all the different styles again, because I'll look at them a few times, the more I go through them, the more like, oh, I want to look more. So like,
Yeah.
especially the Tai Chi styles, I didn't really search them up. I'm gonna search up all the Tai Chi styles to see if I can find some
Yeah.
footage.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot out there. It's crazy now. There's so much stuff.
What is a sneak peek? What are some things that we'll see in the next issue? The one that was paused by COVID. What are some like cool articles, cool topics?
Well, there's a really fine article that Emilio did on Tantui, which I'm excited about because it's one we've been sitting on for quite some time. And as I mentioned, there's sort of the unofficial blade sharp, which would have been the first in this research that I've been doing with sword lately. That talks about Dao and cutting techniques, and I come off a bit critical about the way Gong Fu Dao is expressed. Um, it I've always felt that the Chinese martial arts. I mean, what really attracted me to the Chinese martial arts has always been the weaponry, and we have one of the most rich, diverse, eclectic arsenals ever. And within a lot of these forms, when you really break them down, it makes a lot of sense. But we're not really fighting with swords anymore, and so a lot of it's gotten really blurred as well. And I've always been, to a fault, critical of modern wushu when they lightened the weapons. Changed the game entirely. Allows you to do a lot of stuff with weapons that you really can't do with a real weapon because of weight, because of flexibility, because it's sharp, and you wouldn't want to do that with a sharp. And so part of my whole thrust in this Blade Sharp series is I'm comparing different sword styles and how that can feed back into Kung Fu and make us more valid about our practice, more authentic. What else is coming up in the new issue? God, that's a good question. The thing that there's this great line by Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-Five. I've become unstuck in time. And one of the things that happens to me in publishing is I get really unstuck in time, because right now I'm thinking more about the third issue, because as soon as something goes to print, I got to move on. It's kind of like when you're in university and you study for the final. As soon as that final's done, you kind of let it go and then move on to the next one. So what else is coming in the new issue? The cover will be released soon. In fact, I'm not exactly sure, but any day now, the cover will, and then the pre-orders will start going up pretty soon too. The cover master is Master Richard Au, who's a Yao Kun Moon guy from San Francisco, and I've got to give him a lot of props, because we were telling him that he was going to be on the cover of the issue, and that's a big thing, right? And we were telling him that in 2020, right? And then when the magazine collapsed, he was totally understanding. Some other masters that we work with would have been up in our face, but he was totally understanding and has been patiently waiting for this story to come out. He's a good friend of mine, so I'm excited to share his story. It's a very Chinatown, American Asian story, but then also, his style, Yao Kun Moon, is very rich and deep and very traditional. So, yeah, I'm excited to finally get that one out to press. I'm continuing with the Straight Out of Shaolin column. So there's more. That's my new column with this, which is kind of a delicate investment, given that what's happening with Abbott, and now there's no news out of Shaolin. The fast forward to the fight scenes column that I do is focused predominantly on the Lunar New Year releases, right? So a lot about Blades of the Guardians, which if you haven't seen it, go see it. My God,
Oh,
it's one
so
of the
you recommend it, huh? Okay.
best wuxia films ever. It
Wow.
is so good. It's so good,
Okay.
and it was
I'm
such a
writing this
treat.
down right now.
It was such a treat to see it on the big screen because a lot of, at least in the major metropolises, they're showing a lot of these Chinese movies when they're coming out. So there was actually um, several Chinese movies that came out in local theaters with the Lunar New Year. Um, but that one's just a winner on so many levels. You'll love it.
That's
Um,
amazing.
Also, we have our horoscopes for the year of the fire horse. Um, like I said, this issue should have dropped a couple weeks ago, and it won't drop for another month now. So due to production, but we'll catch up. This third one, I'm going to catch up. We're getting
Yeah.
there, we're getting it figured out. And I so appreciate the patience of our subscribers and people who invest in the magazine because we first put that out when we submitted to print, and then we had this terrible delay because we asked for a color correction, and usually a color correction they just tweak it and you're good. But this color correction took like a month. It
Oof.
was like, oh my God. Part of the things we're working with different printers now. Before when we were doing Newsstand magazine, I mean, we were printing tens of thousands of issues.
Yeah.
Now only printing about 1,000 now. So it changes the game. That's why also the issues are far more expensive now because smaller prints are more expensive than bigger prints. The more you print, the cheaper it gets, just like anything, right? Um, so that's been a learning experience working with a printer that isn't as massive as who we used to work with, and not as efficient, you know. Um, and then our freaking our shipment got lost.
Uh-oh.
It was lost for a couple of weeks, and then finally recovered only 75% of it, but then they finally recovered the last part. It was like, so that's why we were like 2 months late, the production,
Oh.
and then we're just like, oh my God, this is, and at a certain point I kind of gave up. I was like, this is catastrophically late, but fortunately, like I said, our readership has been very forgiving. People seem to be just delighted to have us back in print, and it's all good.
Yeah.
We're getting it, and we're learning it. It's not like something you can just pick up again because number one, the business models have changed. I don't think they're done or a little changed. The actual production, the technical manufacturing of the magazine is about the same, but I'm shy some people. Right? I have basically one graphic artist now, and we used to have two full-time graphic artists. We used to have a video guy. We used to have a lot of different stuff. So you know, but we'll make it work. It's
Yeah.
coming. Just the community has been incredible in supporting us, and as well as the writers, which has been kind of exciting to me. It's kind of funny, really, because we've been running articles online all the way through. We had a short blip during the pandemic, but we've been doing weekly updates with the website pretty much since 2000, barring a few months in 2020, but pretty much straight through. And a web article gets far more exposure because it's free, it's international, and so but authors are always focused on being in print, which just fascinates me. I mean, I get it, but if you really want to get your word out, uh, in many ways, the web is stronger now because there's only, like I said, only about 1,000 print issues are going out, right? Whereas the web, I mean, so many, things get shared over and over again, right? So all across the world, you know. right now we are not shipping outside of the United States. So that's a complication too. You know, we do have a solid international following. Um, but you know, we'll see. So, like I said, one step at a time. You know,
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of a time, right? What can you control, basically? Last
exactly.
question for you, Gene, is what's new in your martial arts training, if there's any updates?
Yeah, I got my first black belt.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Just took me like 55 plus years in the martial arts. It's in Iaido in blade drawing, Japanese blade drawing. And actually, in all fairness, I mean, I mainly studied uh, Chinese arts, which don't have belts necessarily, right? All the Japanese arts I did, Shotokan, Judo, Endo. I never stuck with them long enough to get to Shodan. I started doing Iaido shortly after the pandemic. I always had a great love for it as a martial art. I did it many years ago when I was in grad school, late 80s. I just kind of dabbled, you know, and I always kind of wanted to get back to it. When the magazine folded, I think, you know, when the magazine was going, I felt I gotta dedicate myself to Chinese martial arts because, you know. But then yeah, a series of weird happenstances. You know, they always say, you know, when the student is ready, the universe provides the teacher, and that's kind of what happened to me. You know, I met the Ido sensei that I met him at a dog park. We were both playing with our dogs, right? And our dogs were playing, and you know, martial artists can sight other martial artists. So pretty quickly we realized we were both training, and we got talking. He's teaching like actually now his dojo is a short walk from where I live, and so it was like, oh my god, I got to train with this guy, and it's been very rewarding. I really enjoy it. You know, I think the Ido is, how should we say, probably the most impractical martial art of all, because it's all designed about, you know, it's all about having a sword and, you know, quick draw cutting somebody with a sword. And, you know, when do I have a sword like that on the street? So, but there's an incredible zen to it. There's an incredible presence of mind, which is really what I'm after in martial arts. You know, I love that awareness that it can produce, that focus, that discipline, you know, that sort of simplification of the universe to, so I'm going to cut you. But, you know, actually the term Iaido really means, you know, like awareness. It's a study in awareness. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And that's also what has been inspiring my blade chart series, because you know I've been comparing in my head uh, things I've learned in Iaido with things I've learned in Kung Fu, with things I learned when I used to teach fencing, you know, Western fencing. Um, you know, I've always been fascinated by cold weapons, by sword arts, and that's really always been my pull into the martial arts. Um, and so, yeah, that's what's new with me, basically. You know, still doing my Kung Fu. You know, um, still plugging there. I mean, now it's at my age now. You know, I'm in my 60s, and so it's a lot about just maintenance. You know, like, oh, can I still do this form? You know, I mean, there's, you know, there was a time when I knew an insane amount of forms, like 50, 60 forms. Now it's down to just a few dozen that I hit regularly, you know, and still enjoy. Um, but yeah, there's a certain shift, I think, in your practice as you get older. You'll get there. Maybe you're partly there already. You know, all the
yeah.
mileage adds up. The mileage adds
Yeah.
up.
For me,
Uh,
I've just been still healing from that bad ankle sprain. So it's been getting much better. And so just strengthening, like, I know how my body is. Like, if I get back into something without being completely back, like, I'm just going to hurt myself in either that same place or a different place because I'm
yeah.
overcompensating. So it's just like
Oh yeah.
I'm in no hurry to get too far back into it again. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I know that feeling, man. I know that feeling, and also just working on other areas of my life too, right? Obviously, getting into the martial arts and then even potentially making a career is good, but you have to realize that most of us have brains to do more than one thing. And so
Sure.
embracing that and realizing that, oh yeah, um, I can do more than one thing well. So I don't have to put all my eggs in the martial arts. In fact, I can get enjoyment in many other things too. So
Sure. Absolutely.
that's
And
where I'm at now.
a lot of the martial artists talk about you need to have some sort of balancing discipline. So whether that be cooking or calligraphy or playing music, um, many of the grandmasters talk about that. And I get that. I think you can get really myopic if all you do is martial arts,
Yeah.
right? I can get really messed up, but and you need some sort of balance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I realized. I've been really, really, really enjoying this new growth in me. Like I thought I had it figured
Mm.
out, especially under the pandemic. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I just build this martial arts career, keep training martial arts, but it turns out it wasn't complete.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. I mean, I never really anticipated having a career in the martial arts. That was not
Mhm.
the game. I was actually hoping to become a college professor.
Wow.
Um,
That's a secret hope of mine too. So I guess
yeah,
I admitted it's not secret anymore. So
very good, very good. Well, you just got into some graduate schools. You were telling
yeah.
me. That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Now it's the process of like getting them to give better aid to understand that, hey, maybe Jerry's worth something. So
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I went to graduate school because of martial arts. My topic of study was martial arts. I was looking at masters versus novices in cognitive psychology, which at the
wow.
it was research leading towards what we used to call expert systems, right? They were trying to develop computer systems that could diagnose, right, like a medical diagnoses or discover oil or whatever. Right now, it was very much a precursor to AI. So I could have been, if I'd stuck with that path, who knows how much money I'd be rolling in. But I got to train at Shaolin, and I have this crazy life chasing down martial arts research. It's all good.
Yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
much there's experiences that the martial arts has given me that I wouldn't swap for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The the other thing is beyond just working the brain. This is also working the brain, but in a different way. I started working at a juice and coffee shop. So
Yeah,
it's like learning all these new skills. It's been great. It's been great for the mind. I never knew that, you learn certain skills and then it actually helps your brain. Like it really shows like a lot of the divide that society gave us of like white collar versus blue collar, all that stuff. It's not black and white like that. It's like you do quote unquote blue collar tasks in white collar work, and in blue collar work, you do white collar tasks too. So you might as well not have that divide. Just keep learning what your mind wants to learn, and then also what people need. Right? That's basically what I've been trying to do.
yeah. I mean, I think that folds back into the whole China maxing trend in that it's a different way of viewing the world. You don't
Yeah,
partition in the same black and white Descartesian split. You
yeah,
know, it's more you can have competing truths. You
yeah,
can do all sorts of things. It's all. I mean, my martial skills. Aside from just self defense, that sense of discipline and awareness applies to so many things in my life.
yeah,
So many things. So it's an approach that you can use for anything you do.
yeah,
Really.
yeah. Exactly. I think this is a good stopping point for us, and I think every issue that comes out, let's do a talk. I think that's a natural way to get you on.
I would love that. And I appreciate you giving me the platform here on your program. And anything helps. Everybody out there, anything helps. Support the magazine. Send me advertiser. Send me stories. Tell me.
Yeah. If people wanted to send you stories, pitch you on ideas, what did they do?
Email me at gene@kungfumagazine.com.
Okay.
GENE. Actually, if you go to kungfumagazine.com, at the very bottom, you'll see a little button that says "Write for Us." Click that, and it'll give you the whole submission guidelines. And we do have some guidelines that people need to abide by. But yeah, totally. I mean, we're wide open. We're excited. The funny thing, when we did this issue, I released the TOC pages, the table of contact pages, and the first one there's two in every issue. The first one I released, and all these people like looked at it and said, well, "Where's my style?" I was like, "Well, maybe it's on the second page." And so I got a lot of people like coming at me like, "Well, you guys never covered me." And I was like, "Dude, that's not really the way it works. If you have a story, send me your story. I'm not going to go out and get your story. I have my own stories I'm working on, but anybody can submit. You just got to be a good writer, and you just got to have something important to say aside from, my style's cool. Everybody's style's cool. Give us something a little bit more meaty, right?"
Yeah.
But, submission, for the web and for print.
Perfect. So, guys, leave your comments, questions for Gene also, and we'll get them answered next issue's release. So, Gene will be back soon.
Thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate it.